What's good? It's been a bit since my last Purple Hyacinth video. I was talking about some masks back then, but I'm a little more free now, and we're getting closer to season 2. So I'll be putting out more Purple Hyacinth related videos in the next couple of weeks. I have a pretty interesting one, as you can probably tell from the title. It was something I saw for another series that I follow. I saw someone do something cool on Reddit, so I try to do the same thing for the series. I'll put the link in the description for anyone that's interested, and of course I'll go over how to do it, or how I did it, in just a sec. This will be a little shorter of a video, and just so you know, I finally got some copies of The Secret Garden and The Man Who Laughed. So once I read through them, I'll have some comparative videos coming. Would anyone be interested in doing a read-through with me for season 1 as we get closer to the end of July? I might do one on Twitch. Let me know in the comments below. Also, there's a video bar now in most of my newer videos. It should be segmented into like a table of contents, so skip around the video if you want to. I love this new feature. Now, let's begin. So this graph you see is the length of pixels per chapter in season 1. And yes, what you see is chapter 49, the finale at the end. How I found this was I have a MacBook and a Google Chrome. If you go into more options, the sideways ellipse or the 3 dots on the tabs bar, you click on more tools and then you click on developer tools. Within these elements, there's a style section on the bottom, and I unchecked the height 100%, and then in the little picture with boxes, there's this thing. It kind of shows like a number, X, a number. The first number is the width, the second number is the height for the page. Now, I will say I'm not a computer science expert or anything, so take this approach with a grain of salt, but what I've deciphered is that this tells me the height in pixels from the top of the page to the bottom. So this also will include the header that has the episode name and number, and will also include the comments and the other recommended series on the bottom after the chapter ends. But this appears in every episode/chapter, so it doesn't really skew the data, kind of bumps everything at the same level. I basically found the pixels for each chapter and then plotted it on this bar graph. If anyone wants the hard numbers for everything, I'll link a Google Sheet for viewing in the description/pinned comment. Now, I feel like I have to say that chapters with less pixels doesn't necessarily mean less content or less story, as every chapter for me flowed the same amount of time and I had the same amount of engagement when I read through it. So the following comments are just a couple of my observations. What's interesting to note is that the prologue and the finale have way more pixels than any other chapter. I mean, the finale makes sense because I remember Soph telling something about a 200 panel chapter, but I didn't know how big of a difference that was lengthwise until I formed the graph. To give some context, these are the average pixel lengths of chapters with all chapters, without the prologue, and without the prologue and the finale. The finale pixels are easily 2.5 times more than the average pixels per chapter. So excluding these outliers, the prologue and the finale, I'll be focusing on the chapters with the least amount of pixels and the most amount of pixels. So chapter 17, titled New Nemesis, is a cool place in the story because we actually get the info box for the first time of Harvey Wood, our beloved traitor, as well as the aftermath of Loon's first mission of capturing Mick Trevor. This is also where Herman kind of gets all angsty about making this personal mission of finding Loon, and this chapter is a great segue between the intense chapter beforehand of finishing Loon's first mission and a more comedic chapter 18 with the lady and the butler. Now, chapter 48, which is titled The Memorable Mistake, and chapter 2, titled Somber Silhouette, both are second to last chapters, and they're roughly the same amount of panels. So chapter 2 is the aftermath of Kieran killing the 2 moles in the Phantom Scythe, and we get the info boxes of our big 3 in the 11th precinct, Kim, William, and Lauren. I feel like this chapter was a little longer because, well, we got the much needed exposition about the Phantom Scythe at the beginning of this chapter to give the readers some context about the main villain force in the series, or well, at least for this season. Chapter 48, our penultimate chapter, we get the much needed flashback of Lauren's demotion from a detective to officer due to Tim Sake's questioning. And we also get some of the heaviest lines spoken by Tim Sake, both in the flashback and the present day, when Lauren pins him against the wall in the alleyway. Both chapters merit their longer nature because, chapter 2 had the backstory of Phantom Scythe, as well as a lot of action scenes of Lauren chasing/fighting Kieran. And chapter 48 had the much needed flashback that had been foreshadowed plenty of times as a moment where Lauren went against her role as a detective due to her ability, and somewhat by the way that Tim Sake edged her on. So what are your thoughts on the biggest and the least amount of pixels for the season. I think it'll be interesting to compare season 2 and potentially further seasons' lengths and how that length dictates the story, or if length even dictates the story. Make sure to heart the chapters on Webtoons every time you finish reading, and comment to be a part of the community. Subscribe to get access to these reviews every week. My social media can be found by searching Inspirational on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Shout out to my designer. You can find his work on Instagram at JadenV_photography. See you all next time.